Good afternoon, YouTube. Today I am going to do a review of two non-clay litters, specifically Sustainably Yours mixed grain formula and Ökocat multi-cat formula. So these are two litters that I can say I've tested and have switched. I will make a separate video of the one non-clay litter that is my favorite, that I do use every day with Jack and Cleo. So I kind of made a makeshift litter test for everybody to kind of see when I do put the water in for clumping. However, I do want to put a few key details when it comes to looking for litter. One, a couple important factors, and I think this is for everybody with cats, is a couple things. One is clumping ability. Two is odor control. Three is tracking. And four, if it's suitable for your pets. So fortunately, when I did test out both of these litters, my cats are kittens, so they basically had no problem in terms of transition. However, between these two, my favorite would have to be the Sustainably Yours, just due to the fact that it is very good with odor control and it does clump very well. However, in terms of tracking, obviously you could see in my setup, it is really bad when it comes to tracking. So that's kind of where Ökocat would take the win on tracking. But again, if you're more concerned about odor control and clumping, the Sustainably Yours mixed grain will be the best. So I'm gonna put some water in both, just so we can see how it clumps. I'm obviously not the best at this, but just give it a little bit of time. Supposedly it does take, I'm gonna put a little more water in the Ökocat, because it does not look like it's gonna do so well. So when it comes to clumping, again, as I did mention, the Sustainably Yours is going to take the win. When it comes to the Ökocat multi-cat formula, I just also do want to mention, this is a newer formula that the company did release. I did start off with the blue original formula. However, based on clumping and odor control, when the company did release their new product, I did want to give it a shot. However, I can tell you that the multi-cat formula and the original do the same exact thing. And the only thing I do kind of like about it, again, is that it doesn't track as much as this one, but it does also have a nice natural odor. But the clumping is not good. It does take quite a while to do. And in terms of odor control, obviously that is why it's not one of my favorites, because we can literally smell cat poop from another room as soon as they do go use the litter box. This one, it would be a couple seconds that we do notice an odor. However, it does do an excellent job with it. And I do also want to mention, between both of these litters, the reason why we did stop this one is for several reasons. We started this one when we had our cat Cleo, and she did have parasites, Giardia specifically, in addition to another one. So one of the things that she did have was diarrhea. If you are going to buy this litter and your cat is going to have diarrhea, it is extremely difficult to clean, just because of how fine the litter is. As you can obviously see, it is scattered all over my kitchen table. However, they do have 3 different formulas: small, large, and mixed grain. In terms of having both litters, In one, I did go with the mixed grain, and I would say that would be a better choice. However, I do know that some people do prefer the large grain if they are using an automatic litter cleaner, like a litter robot and the thousands of name brands that there is. So now that I have allowed this to kind of clump, hopefully, I'm going to show everybody. You can see how nice and solid it kind of formed. Obviously, this is not the best way to do it, but you can kind of see how it formed a clump right away. As for the Ökocat, it is still very soft, and you can see that it is not clumping well. And as soon as I do scoop it, it does break apart. So that kind of does answer this in terms of clumping. So another factor as to why we did stop the Sustainably, or specifically, is when we did start it, as you can see, it is made from corn and cassava. We did notice that our cat was starting to sneeze as soon as we did start with this litter. So when we did stop, we noticed that the sneezing for her did stop. However, between both of these, this one is going to be much more expensive. This one is obviously expensive as well, but just not as much as this. I believe this bag did run $42 to $45 when we did purchase it from PetSmart. This formula specifically, at the time that we did purchase this, we did have to order it from Chewy because the pet stores did not carry the multi-cat formula. They only did carry the original, which I can tell you, in terms of clumping, the original for some odd reason did better than the one that obviously says multi-cat premium clumping litter. So with that said, we have tried other litters, but this video specifically for Sustainably Yours and Ökocat, which I feel are two of the top brands when it comes to non-clay litters. We have had bad experience, obviously, being new cat parents. We did start off with clay litter, specifically scented, which we had no idea would make us sick in terms of having such a strong fragrant odor. And that's why we kind of went the more natural route, non-clay, and started experimenting between litters. So we did try these two. Again, as I did mention, we did have the Ökocat original, which we don't have here. We discarded the product. However, we do keep these here in case of an emergency. But the goal is to educate and make sure that everybody who is purchasing litter can make the best decision, because I can tell you it is a struggle in terms of finding the right litter. I can tell you every single cat has its own feel for litters in terms of texture. Obviously, we can tell this one is wood, like wood shavings, and this one is, again, just grain formula. And as you can see, it did make a nice clump, which is really satisfying, but again, between these two, this would have to be the best. I do feel for many cat owners, choosing the correct litter is very, very difficult. And it gets to a point to where many people gravitate towards clay, being that it's the most affordable, and in terms being very good in terms of clumping. However, in terms of health for both cats and for humans, clay litter I would steer away from. And any single product that we've picked that was clay litter that did say 99.9% dust free, just like the majority of the cat litters we see, it produces too much dust. And for my wife and I, clay litters did aggravate our allergies, and it created a stuffy atmosphere in the home. So again, I feel like for all cat owners, some of the most important key features is clumping ability for both poop and pee, odor control, because we don't want to have no guests in the house that is going to smell cat poop as soon as they walk through the door, and tracking, because who realistically wants a dirty home? Now, I can tell you the litter that I do use now, which I will make a separate video for, it does track. It is very minimal, but in terms of having a non-clumping, a clay clumping litter alternative, the one that I'm gonna show in a later video is gonna be the best. You know, thousands of litters exist from what I've seen on Chewy, the pet stores. However, I do feel many cat owners tend to gravitate towards the big name brands, whether it's clay or non-clay. So in our journey for purchasing the correct litters, obviously you have tofu litter, walnut shell litter, you have world's best, which we did not purchase because of the negative things we've heard in terms of it building mold and the dust that it does produce. So that was obviously out of the picture. For me, the walnut shell one, if it's like it, I can say I have not used it personally, but from what I have seen before, it does have a very dark red color, and it could possibly stain the bottom of your cat's feet. But obviously, these I could tell you are better options than the ones I just mentioned, and between these two, again, the Sustainably Yours mixed grain formula will be the winner. So I do want to kind of hear feedback from everybody who's going to watch this video to know what litters they use, their personal opinions, their thoughts, because I feel there's too many videos out there that show this, show that, and I think for cat owners, the goal is to target those common things that I've mentioned. So instead of reviewing many litters and showing you and wasting everybody's time, I'm trying to simplify it for everybody. And yeah, please stay tuned, and I will make additional videos when it comes to litter later on. I hope that everybody who did watch this did enjoy this quick, informative video between the Sustainably Yours and the Ökocat multi-cat formula. You can reach out to me in conversation for any questions that you may have, and I'm looking forward to hearing the feedback from everybody. Thank you so much.